Hello everyone. Let's see what is React. We see the introduction to React. React is an open source JavaScript library and it is developed by the Facebook in 2013. So it is a JavaScript library developed by the Facebook. It's mainly used for building interactive UIs, user interface for a web applications. React focuses on the view layer of the application, helping developers create dynamic and reusable UI components. So this is the introduction to React. So React is nothing but a open source JavaScript library and it is developed by the Facebook. It is mainly used for building the UIs for the web applications. Why using React means component based architecture. With React, you can create the individual components like buttons or form fields that can be reused throughout your app. So, throughout your app, you can reuse the individual components like buttons or form fields. That is component based architecture and then virtual DOM. So React uses a virtual version of the DOM, document object model. DOM is a document object model. So React uses a virtual DOM to track the changes of the application. Instead of updating the whole page, it only updates the specific components where we make a changes. So it makes a app more faster. So virtual DOM is used. And then declarative code. React allows you to define what your UI should look like based on the app's current state. So app's current state, based on that it will work, making the code more readable and easier to debug. And then cross platform development. React concept can also be applied to mobile apps with React Native, letting you create mobile application for iOS and Android using similar code. This is the cross platform development. So how does React work means? React applications are built by creating and managing reusable components. So it is built by creating and managing the reusable components. And then it uses the JavaScript XML, JSX. So React uses the JavaScript XML, which is a syntax extension allowing you to write a HTML like code within the JavaScript. So within the JavaScript, we can write the HTML like code, that is JavaScript XML. So JavaScript XML is optional but helps make the code more readable. So it is optional but it makes the code more readable. So we are using JavaScript XML. It allows you to write the HTML code in the JavaScript. So H1 is written as a JavaScript XML inside the greeting component. So this is a component. React will convert this JavaScript XML to JavaScript for the browser. So it will be finally this JavaScript XML code is converted into the JavaScript for the browser to run it. So virtual DOM. Virtual DOM. React uses the virtual DOM to update only the parts of the page that change. Only it updates the part that has changed. That's why we are using a virtual DOM. It compares the new virtual DOM with the previous version, identifies the changes and updates the real DOM only where necessary. So virtual DOM is nothing but it is used to update only the changed part of the page, and then it compares the new virtual DOM with the previous version and then identifies the changes and updates the real DOM only where necessary. Only when it is necessary it updates the DOM. So this is the virtual DOM. And then state and props. State is used to manage data within a component. So within this component, state is used to manage a data. it's like a variable that can change over time. For instance, let's create a counter that increments whenever a button is clicked. So here this count is a variable and set count is a function. So in this use state we are initially passing 0, and then in the button we are using this increment. So whenever we are setting in this function, we are updating the count plus 1, updating the variable which is plus 1. So set count in this set count function we are updating count plus 1, and then we are calling this increment function in the on click button. So whenever we click the button, it increments by 1. So state is used to manage the data within a component. So it's like a variable that can change over time. So that is state. Use state 0 initializes count to 0, and set count is to update the count value. So using the set count, we are updating this count value. So let's see the props. Props are used to pass the data from one component to the another component, from the one component parent to the another component, that is child component. That is why we are using props. It is used to pass the data from parent component to a child component. They are read only and allow components to share the information. So in this example, from the app component, we are here greeting receives the name as a prop. So greeting component receives the props.name as a props from the app component. So app component is a parent component here. Here we are giving a value to this name. So in this greeting component we are passing the data as a props.name. So when we are printing it, it will look like hello and then props.name, whatever that we store here. So in this case, hello Kavya, that will be printed. So allows the greetings to display hello Kavya. So props.name. So it is a parent component and it is a child component. We are passing the data as a props. So this is what a props is used for. So let's see the React hooks. Hooks are a functions that let you use the state and other React features in a functional components. It is used to use the state and other React features using the in the functional components. So three essential hooks are there: use state, use effect, and use context. Let's see one by one. Use state hook. Use state is a hook for managing the state in a functional components. In a functional components, to manage a state, we are using the use state hook. So we are importing a use state from the React, and then for managing the state in a functional component, uh, we are using the use state, as we see this example before. So using the set count function, we are updating the state variable. So for managing a state in a functional component, we are using this use state. Use state creates a state variable count and function to update its set count. And then use effect. Use effect lets you perform side effects in a functional components. So use effect allows you to perform the side effects in a functional components. Why means it combines the functionality of component did mount, component did update, and component will unmount from class components into a single function. So it combines all these three and from the class components into a single function, that is called a use effect hook. So in this code, use effect runs every render. So let's see the use effect hook. Use effect hook purpose is to when a component appears on the screen and then when certain values like a piece of state change, when the component is about to disappear, to clean up. So these three states we use a use effect hook. So think of use effect as a way to add side jobs to your component, fetching data from an API, setting up a timer, listening for events. And then this example, let's see this example. So in this, we are using a timer component. So in the seconds as a variable, set seconds is a function here. We are using use state. So inside we are using the use effect. So we are starting a timer that increases the seconds, every second. So and then we are cleans up the timer when the component is disappear. When the component disappear, we are clean up the timer. So clear interval of timer. So first we are setting the interval timer like every second, for it increases the seconds every second. So this is the dependency. So whenever we give the empty dependency array means this runs only once. So this component will runs only once. So this code runs once when the component first appears. So when the dependency array is empty. So inside use effect we set up a timer that increases the second by 1 every second. So it returns a cleanup step that stops the timer if the component disappears, preventing memory leaks. So this empty array tells use effect to run only once when the component first mounts. So next use context hook. Use context helps components share data without passing it directly as a props at every level. So at every level, without passing it directly as a prop, we can use the use context. So for example, you have a theme dark or light that you want to use across different parts of your app. So instead of passing this theme through every single component, you can set it in a context, use context. Then let's each component access the theme from the use context directly. Imagine we want a button with a background color that depends on the current theme, light or dark. So this is the code for it. So we are creating a context with the default value light. So we are creating the context with the default value light. So in this and then we are providing the value dark to the theme context, which will be shared with all the child components. So this theme context dot provider, we are giving a value equal to dark. So for this themed button component, we are wrapped the theme context dot provider value as a dark. So this provide the value dark to the theme context, which will be shared to the all the child components. So accessing the current theme value, we are using use context of this theme context. So now the button style equal to background color, theme equal to dark means this color or else this one. So this is what we are using. This creates a create context of light. This will create a context with the default value of light. Okay. And then theme context dot provider value equal to dark. This provides the value dark to all the components wrapped by the theme context dot provider. Here themed button component is wrapped inside. So this themed button is using those context. By using the use context and passing the theme context inside it. So we can access the dark value here. In this component we can directly access the theme context value by using the use context, because we are wrapped this themed button component by this theme context dot provider. So this provides the value dark to all the components wrapped by the theme context dot provider. So use context of theme context. This allows the themed button component to directly access the current theme dark in this case. So sets up the shared data like a theme, and create context sets up the shared data like a theme. So provider wraps the components and provides a specific value for the context. Use context lets a component read the current value directly without needing a props. So this is the usage of use context. Instead of passing a props at each level, we are using the use context, and then we are wrapping it by the dot provider, so that all the child components will use the by using the use context. So this is the usage of use context. So use effect runs the code when something specific happens. Example component appears. So use context allows components to share data without needing to pass props at every level. So this is the usage of use effect use context. Thank you.